question really is, in what way can you change life? And is it possible to change society? Is it possible to change the environment? There are so many different aspects that food has an impact on. Every single meal you eat, every single thing you buy affects the world you live in. And so I'm very grateful because it's such an immense topic that I got this fabulous panel with me tonight.
On an average day, London serves up 33 million meals. It's quite jaw-dropping when you think about it. Actually, it's sort of impossible to think about how you make a dent into that. So the things we do, they run the gamut from big projects that we've had, like Capital Growth, where we funded and created 2012 community vegetable gardens, which is now like way more. London, I don't know how many there are. We've lost count. There are so many now. We are by far and away the world's biggest producers of vegetables within a city. From Capital Growth, we got the money off the lottery to start putting a garden into every school, which I think is phenomenally important, especially for kids in the city to, you hear those apocryphal tales that kids say spaghetti grows on trees. We have to do something about that. A garden is the best place to start.
The first kind of food waste campaign that I got involved with was the Forgotten Feast fish restaurant, which was on Southwark Bridge, and we fed 200 people with food that would otherwise be wasted. And at that point, I was just completely shocked by the ingredients and donations that we were receiving. They were often organic, and they were all even better than a lot of produce that I'd used in restaurants. And I just saw this as kind of an amazing opportunity, really, to be able to create change just by saving this waste, and also kind of acknowledge the impact that saving that waste had on the resources used to produce it and so on, which was really, just kind of got me going and started my own kind of journey into campaigning and writing about sustainability and focusing on that.
And BioBean essentially collects waste coffee grounds from all across the UK, from big instant coffee factories all the way down to your local coffee shop via kind of various large kind of coffee shop chains and that kind of stuff. And essentially work with waste management companies to collect all these waste coffee grounds, and then we get them together, and then as our big factory, which is up in Cambridgeshire, we take all the oil out and turn that into biodiesel, which is used for powering transport systems, and then also into biomass pellets and coffee logs, which are used for things like heating buildings, powering factories, and also, there's some over there. It's quite smoky, sorry. And also things like barbecues and pizza ovens and your log burning stove at home and that kind of stuff. And essentially use kind of carbon neutral, sustainable fuel products, but made from waste coffee grounds. And the real kind of insight came whilst I was studying at architecture school, which isn't perhaps the most obvious route into running a kind of waste management and manufacturing fuels business. But it was through this initial insight. Firstly, I was looking at how you can create totally sustainable cities and also kind of carbon neutral buildings within those cities. And before kind of looking at the kind of the classic kind of wind turbines and solar panels and that kind of stuff, I began looking at the waste coffee grounds themselves, and essentially there's a huge amount of energy and oil packed into these coffee grounds, which is quite a weird place to look. But essentially kind of found out about all the waste that was out there, around 500,000 tonnes in the UK alone, and kind of set up a business to tackle that.
There's all this, what I call the invisible army of women hidden in all big cities in the world who cook wonderful food, have wonderful skills, do a lot for society and have no space. They don't feel belong. As I said, they probably could be in a hole and disappear after the children are grown up and go to produce more jobs and money for society, and they just disappear. So these women have wonderful natural skills, and they cook with a particular ingredient that we don't find, I think, anywhere, but it's love and care for the food they do. And you can taste it in the food, I believe that you do. And then when you find these women all over the place and they feel you show them you can cook and you are a chef. And we live in an incredible, vibrant, rich city that has so many jobs. And why? I don't know if you all notice, you go to restaurants all everywhere, and they're not women. Where are the women? Especially older women and women with children. Why are they not there? Because no one wants them to cook, because they are not maybe financially viable, because they have children, they need some kind of a little bit of adjustment. So Masimas was created to say, right, these women cook wonderful food. London and the world wants wonderful food and wants to pay. So let's give jobs to these women so they have the money. They have, as we say in Brazil, they are the owners, they can be the owners of their own nose. So that's very important to give women the confidence, the opportunity, the money, the value that they have, and let them do what they want. So, and we eat wonderful food, and the restaurants have better food, so everyone gains. Their children feel super valued, they belong, they feel the network, they start mixing around London and everywhere with people they would never meet. There is a kind of a cultural exchange, and it's all wonderful, positive. And the food is amazing, so Masimas is just a fantastic opportunity.
One of the things kind of realizations I've come to is that the main reason that we're wasting a lot of our food is that we're actually disconnected from the origins of that food. And by reconnecting with the origins of that food and with nature, essentially, we can value our food more and make less conventional, seasonal, organic food cheaper.
With the premise about good food being unaffordable, we have worked with lots of schools. Food for Life, which is part of the Soil Association, works with schools all across this country, and they work with them to change their menus, slightly reduce the amount of meat, up the quality, increase the vegetables, and you come in as cost neutral or lower. I mean, that is always the bottom line. Can it be cost neutral? And the answer is always yes. It can be if you choose to do it. The problem is, though, that we live within a food system where their interest is to sell you more product made from cheaper ingredients, and that doesn't go along with a nice piece of local seasonal broccoli. There is no markup on broccoli. It's a dead duck for the supermarkets. You can only make a little bit, whereas if you put cheese sauce and salt and blah, 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 and you can make a lot. So they don't really try. But I think it's very important that we understand the health costs. I mean, there's a new survey about to come out that the Food Foundation's doing, and it says 25% of kids in this country eat no vegetables at all. They eat some fruit, but they eat no vegetables.
No, I think it's really interesting, and I'd come at it from the perspective of, as you say, I mean, it's more lucrative, because, I mean, we shouldn't also deny, I think, there's a very strong kind of grassroots food movement, but I also think that kind of we should also accept that the food industry is dominated by some very large businesses who, you know, even if we all do our best and rise up and smite them, will still exist.
What is the most effective way of using food to deal with the effects of inner city deprivation?
Whoa, well,
I like big questions.
okay, briefly, there are lots of areas. There's kids who are going to school hungry. You can help them with breakfast at school, all that kind of thing. Keeping up free school meals ensures kids have a good meal in them. Lots of projects around holiday hunger, which is really very dramatic in our city. And anecdotally, I can't tell you how many teachers have told me about the 2-week gap when kids come back at the end of the summer term, when you have to get them up to speed because they have not eaten well over the summer. And in America, they've got some, which now has federally funded programs, but they did a lot of analysis on it. They were saying by the time a kid gets to 10, if they've really not eaten over all their holidays, not eaten well, there can be as much as a year behind their classmates. That is deep inequality.
I just really wanted to say from the deep of my heart that there will be no solution, I think, for the world while we don't really bring this massive amount of mainly women, the people who are not have any say in the world, and especially women, because they are the ones who really carry the massive part of being the society, the best part of the society, because they look after children, they look after the elder, they cook, they clean, they do all the loving jobs that are not paid for, while these people who do the basic jobs are not listened to and left aside. We will not have a society that will be fair, balanced, and caring. So these women need to be, mainly women, because they're the ones who get the worst part of all the jobs, and they need to be listened to and be part of society. So I think the revolution can only start from the kitchen in a house,